Cavin Elizabeth, your go-to for wedding content, advice, and inspiration, and today I'm in a wedding dress because I'm going to be showing you brides or whoever you are wearing a wedding dress on your wedding day how to pose and single bridal portraits where you are just by yourself, you don't have anybody with you, and maybe you feel a little bit self-conscious about posing. And this is going to be a very simple posing video. I'm not going to be doing anything crazy. I want it to be pretty basic and simple so that you can remember how to do this, especially if your photographer does not give a lot of direction. You can kind of do these things while they're just standing there silently shooting photos of you, or you can also suggest these things to your photographer or ask, hey, do you mind if I do this? Can I do this? Those are totally okay things to do. These are your pictures. Ask away. On my wedding day, my photographer was great, but I said, can I do this? Can I do that? I have a couple ideas. So that's perfectly fine to ask on the wedding day if you have some ideas. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys some really kind of basic, straightforward poses. We'll kind of go from front, side, and back, and I'll show you with bouquet, without bouquet. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we're going to start in the front. This would be kind of like you're just straight on posing right at the camera. The photographer's directly in front of you, and you've got your bouquet. So you want to hold your bouquet not too high, not too low. I mean, you could kind of hold it here, but you want to hold it around belly button height, and you don't want your arms squished in too close to your body. You want a little bit of space. You don't want them like crazy out here. You want it nice and relaxed. If you can just have it relaxed like this around belly button height, that's great. I don't want it to upright like this. You don't also necessarily want it shooting straight out. Just kind of a nice right in between angle is the good way to go. Now, if you are in a fitted dress, which is what I've started off with, so kind of like a fitted dress, mermaid fit to flare trumpet, something that essentially hugs your legs, and I don't have this clipped too tightly on me right now because it's a little bit big. But what you are going to want to do is create a little bit of shape in your body. So instead of standing completely straight, feet right together, you are going to want to bend one of your knees and then bring it towards your midline. That creates a really beautiful shape that is very flattering on all body types. A lot of times I tell brides to do this and then they barely bend anything and I can't see it. So really bend that knee as much as you can so you can see I'm really got a shape going here. So practice this in the mirror at home. So you're bending that, and now you've got your bouquet here. So that's a really beautiful pose. Now, one thing I really want to point out, and this is really important to remember, your bouquet, you've invested in it. You've probably spent anywhere from maybe $100 to $400 plus in your bouquet. You obviously want to show it off, but your dress, I'm willing to bet you spent a lot more money on. So I always recommend getting pictures with the bouquet to the side because I get so many photos back as a bridal boutique owner where every single photo of the bride has the bouquet right in the middle, and I never get any photos that show the full gown, and I want to see that full gown because it's beautiful. So make sure you get some photos without the bouquet, which we'll get to, but at least get some photos with the bouquet to the side so you show off that dress in its full glory. Now you're wondering, what do I do with my free hand? I think it's beautiful to have that free hand here. I don't love this. I know as women, a lot of times we do this because we're really afraid that if we have the arm here, we're gonna squish it and it's gonna look bigger than it really is. But you don't have to do this to avoid doing this. You can just bring it away from your body a little bit, create a little bit of a gap right there, and then have your hand just really loosely resting on your thigh. Don't do this with your fingers, just have them nice and relaxed. Shake it out a little bit, bring it in, slide it up nicely. We don't want to come up too high necessarily. We don't want to be squished in. We just want to be right here. That's really elegant. That's one thing you can do with your hand. Another thing, if you're wearing your hair down, you can kind of bring your hand up to your hair, kind of playing with it a little bit. If you've got a necklace, you can bring your hand to your necklace. That's one thing you can do. You can also play around with your hand up here, holding onto your earring. Those are all little things you can do. So touch something that is on your body, play around with it. You can practice these things in the mirror with just any dress that you have on or normal clothes, and just kind of play around, see what you like best, or just keep it really simple and do just like this. That's very elegant. So let's go ahead and practice without a bouquet. So I'm gonna get rid of that thing right there, and now you've got two free hands. You're wondering, what the heck do I do without my security blanket of a bouquet? Now this, really simple. You could just keep it just like that, or we can play around a little bit more. Bring one hand up like we had earlier. So this was your bouquet hand maybe. We can just bring it like this with your hand underneath. A lot of brides will get to this and they'll have really stiff fingers. Shake it out, bring it in. Think of ballerina hands. So really soft and kind of just spread apart just barely, very loose. cup the jawline like this. That's really nice as well, holding onto your hair. Or we can start to cross in front. Maybe if you don't like your waist showing as much and you loved having that bouquet here, bring a hand in front, go like this. This hand can be free here. Really soft little loose hand right here. We don't want it stiff because that looks a little unnatural. So we just want it like this, really soft and natural with the fingers kind of spread apart. Shake it out just like that. Practice this at home. It takes practice, okay? Or we can bring it here. We can even bring this hand over here. I like a little bit of not a right angle, so a little bit more of an obtuse angle, okay? So hard right angles are very sharp and it kind of draws the eye directly to that angle. So that's why I always like this angle right here. So just elongate the angle a little bit, and then you can even bring this hand up a little bit. So that's really nice too, especially if you have a little bracelet to play with. Now let's talk about if you've got a veil and you want to do straight on, and that gives you a lot to play with. If you have a bouquet and you're holding it and then you have your veil, you can obviously hold it like this. But if you have no bouquet and you have a veil, it can always be really pretty to just kind of bring in that veil. I like having the hands at different heights. If you have them straight together, it's kind of too symmetrical. So just having a little bit of asymmetry is really nice. You can kind of bask in it, bring it around, look to different sides. That's really pretty. We've still got our knee bent, which is really nice. And you can kind of pop your hip out a little bit further if you want to. That's really pretty. You can just have one hand, always really nice. So just kind of play around with that veil, hold on to it. If you have a really long veil, then you can kind of flow it around in the wind. It doesn't look as natural with a short veil like I've got on now, but if you've got a really long veil, kind of play around with it, float it around, look at your hand, look at different things. You don't have to just keep staring at the photographer. So just play around. And when I say play, I really mean play. Sometimes I tell my brides to play and they just do this. Get into it. Really move that arm. Don't be afraid to make a lot of motion. The more motion you make, the better it looks on camera. So that's how you can play with your veil. So let's move on to the side. All right, so now we're on the side view and we're still gonna be bending our knees here, and that's a really nice thing to do. So what I wanna make note of is when you're posing from the side and you're by yourself, not everybody, but a lot of people have a side that they prefer, so AKA their good side. So if you know you have a good side, then use your good side, because that way you're gonna really like your photos more. So if you don't know what your good side is, have somebody take a picture of you from both sides, figure out which one you like better. So when it comes to posing from the side, if you don't like your midsection, that's where you're gonna really have your bouquet handy here. And we're not gonna be too far out, we're gonna be nicely in. We don't want a hard right angle, we want it to be a little bit low. And then when it comes to bending the knees from the side, if you bend the knee closest to the camera and have your weight shifted to the back leg, that is going to be more slimming. Now, if you want your bum to look larger, do the opposite. It is more noticeable on some people than others, which you can play around with this in a dress at home or in just pants. See what you think, see what it does for you. But this is kind of what a lot of people are usually doing, bending the knee closest to the camera. So this is kind of what it's gonna look like. This is gonna be your bouquet. This is one option, really pretty. Do a variety of angles, looking at the photographer, looking at your flowers, kind of looking off to the side, different things like this. Your other hand can just kind of be back here, not really doing a whole lot, or it can be up in your hair. That's really pretty too. Now, one thing I love to do with bouquets from the side, and this works better when your bouquet is not a tight round ball shape, is to have it go in the crook of your arm like this. This is really pretty. Always make sure your shoulders are being held back on side pictures. This is really beautiful to do. It works really well if your bouquet has an elongated shape, especially if it goes really long and has trailing features. So if you've got like ribbons as well. So this is really pretty. Your arms kind of look sickled, but you really won't see that from the side. And this is really nice to do. This is a beautiful shot to have kind of looking away, looking down at the flowers, really nice, beautiful bouquet shot, okay? So let's practice if you do not have a bouquet. All right, so if you don't have a bouquet, we have the knee bent, and then we're going to see what we want to do with our hands. So one option you can always do is this. What I recommend too, and this gown is a little bit big on me, so it's kind of hard to tell, but if you can leave a little bit of space between your waist and your elbow, that's always nice at creating the illusion of a waist, if possible. I know that's not possible in everybody, but if you can do that, that's really great. Also too, when you have a dress that does not have sleeves, that's already gonna create an illusion of a waist because you have contrast. If you've got long sleeves, that's gonna be a little bit harder. So if you've got long sleeves and maybe you're a little bit bit larger and you're not able to create a pocket of a waist back here, one thing you could do is something like this. That could be really pretty to kind of make sure that you're showing your waist, doing something like this. This would be really nice. Remembering not to squish the arm, so just bring it away from the body a little bit, bringing that knee bent through the forward, and then this would be really pretty. Something like this, or something like that, showing off your ring, especially if you're facing the left side. So something like that would be really beautiful and really nice. Now, if you don't love your side profile from the face, make sure to tell your photographer, and then don't face this way. Make sure to keep facing head on or at an angle. If you don't want to be totally side, then you can do something like this, like more like a 3/4. So that's what I would do. And then if you had your veil, of course, you would be able to play with your veil, do the same things that we did from the front. And now I'm going to move on to the back and just show you guys a couple quick poses from the back before we jump into my A-line dress next. All right, so from the back, one of the things that you can do with your bouquet is you can just have it down in natural. Never lock out this arm. That is just too stiff. I see people doing that and it is like, does your elbow hurt? I don't understand what's going on. So always just have a little bit of a baby bend in your elbow. And when you're standing from the back, it's always really nice. You can keep that bend that we're doing, but just kind of pop one hip to the side, creating a shape, because again, that's a lot more interesting than just standing straight. So we want a little bit of a shape. It can be from either side, but I kind of like having the bend here and then maybe having the bouquet on the other side and maybe having our arm here just like we're doing before. Again, remember, these are very simple so that we can remember them. So bouquet down and natural like this. One thing that you can also do if you want more flowers to show to the photographer is you can kind of hold it like this so it's backwards. That's another option, so you get more of those blooms into the camera. There's always the over the shoulder look back, kind of not looking all the way around because that's a little bit twisted, but you can just kind of look back towards the general direction of the photographer. Obviously too, you can look back a little bit more. I would turn the flowers this way, kind of an angled look by that. One thing too as well that you can do is you can have the flowers in the crook of your arm like earlier that I showed, and then have it from the back. So that's really pretty to do. I love this shot, super beautiful. And then let's talk about back posing with no bouquet. This would just be really nice and simple to have like this. One thing you can also do is play with your arms. You could have your arms up overhead if you wanted to, something more editorial. That would be really nice. And then of course, if you have your veil, then you've got something really nice to play with, and you could just kind of bring it around you. If it's a long veil, you can have it flowing like we showed earlier. And that's pretty much it when it comes to a fitted dress. So now let's go ahead and jump into an A-line dress. Now I'm in an A-line dress, which you might notice is the exact same lace as the other one. They're both by Danny Tabbitt. When it comes to an A-line dress, you have pretty much all of the same options that you have for a fitted dress. One thing I will note is that when it comes to your legs, it doesn't really make as much of a difference about bending the knee, but you can absolutely do it. I don't personally think this makes that much of a difference in terms of giving you a shape, because the shape is kind of hidden by the silhouette. So don't worry too much about what you're doing with your legs. In an A-line, if you have a slit, by all means bend that knee and let it come through. That's super beautiful to do. But I'm just gonna talk about a couple of the hand variations that are really important. So when you have your bouquet, obviously the frontal pose is the same thing we would do in the fitted, but when it comes to bringing it to the side, instead of just bringing it on your hip, you now have a dress to play with. That is something that is really fun. And when I say play with it, I mean play with it. This is what I'm talking about. This is the amount of motion that I would want to see. I don't just want to see this. I want to see that. That is how much I mean. So once we ditch the bouquet, you can play with both hands. That's really pretty. You could do some spins. I love that. I think being able to play with the fluff of your dress, especially if it's a lighter, fluffier material like tulle, is really pretty. So that is one thing that you can do that has the advantage over a fitted dress. Also too, we have the same hand motions that we do with the fitted dress, so that would be the exact same thing. And lastly, one thing I really love about A-line dresses over fitted dresses when it comes to posing is that you can do a little light jogging, and that could be really beautiful from the side, from the front, from the back. And that is gorgeous if you are able to do a light jog, which I know always looks kind of silly while you're doing it, but in photos it comes out so beautifully. And that's really cool about the movement of these A-line dresses, again, especially with light fluffy tulle. Now these are all my standing poses, again, just some simple front, side, and back with bouquet, without without bouquet. Use the tools that you have on your body to play with. Even when you don't have flowers to hold, you can do the little hand things like this. That is still part of your body to utilize. I think most importantly, if all you can remember is to hold your shoulders back, create a little bit of space between your body if ever possible, or bring your arms away from the body, that is going to be great. And then if you're wearing a fitted dress, just create a shape with your legs. That is really all you need to remember. If you can remember anything else, that is amazing. Comment down below if you have any other suggestions on posing videos you want me to do. I can do some sitting videos. I can try to get my husband to do a couples posing video with me. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!